Hello, my name's Richard Sulley. I'm the Net Zero Project Director for the South Yorkshire Mayoral Combined Authority. This is the first in a series of short webinars looking at our climate impact, how we measure it, how we understand it, and what we can do to reduce it. In South Yorkshire, we have a vision of a net zero economy by 2040. It's part of our strategic economic plan, and it looks to see the economy grow, but also be fairer and be greener. So embedding low carbon and circular economy principles into everything that we do. The first stage we need to look at is what our existing emissions are. And for this, we need to draw a graph. And here it is. So you can see that between 2005 and 2019, there has been some reduction in our emissions from the region, but a lot of this has been driven by grid decarbonisation. So our move at national level from generating electricity from coal, gas and oil and moving over to more renewables. There have also been some reductions in emissions from industry and from the commercial sector. Some of these are down to energy efficiency measures that have been implemented. Some of them are down to the change in the types of industries that we have in the local area. But you'll also see that there are some stubborn sectors as well. So transport remains pretty much at the level that it was 15 years ago. Across the region, our emissions are split roughly into three equal sectors. Residential, so that's the energy that we use in our homes, the energy that we use in industry, commercial and public sectors, and transport. And for this, transport includes private cars, freight, and public transport. And it's split across the four local authorities that make up the region. You can see from this that Sheffield has the biggest contribution, which you would expect as it has the highest population. When we look at those figures per capita, you can see that although from the previous graph, Sheffield's carbon footprint is bigger, per capita it's the smallest. And this is typical of the densification that you get and the efficiencies that you get from living in denser cities. If you look at it by area, you can see that Sheffield's is larger in terms of kilotons of CO2 equivalent per kilometre because of that densification. Whereas Doncaster, which is much more spread out, has a higher per capita carbon footprint, but lower per kilometre, and that's due to the nature of more people spread out. Well, we have a significant reliance on natural gas across all our sectors. Most of our homes are heated by gas. A lot of us cook with gas. And similarly, across industry and commerce, a lot of buildings are heated by gas, and a lot of industrial processes are driven by gas. We also have a high use of petrol and diesel across all our transport. Road transport is 97% of the carbon footprint associated with transport. And from that, about 60% is from private cars. It's a significant contribution. So we can see that grid decarbonisation alone won't achieve the goals because of our reliance on direct emissions from the use of fossil fuels. And we have to take care because fuel poverty is a real issue for the residents in our region. So just moving to electricity or moving to alternative fuels without taking measures to reduce consumption and improve efficiency will not help some people. It also won't help some businesses as well, who have very tight bottom lines, and energy can be a significant contributor to their overall operating cost. So in terms of solutions, the standard solution that we always go to is use less. Energy efficiency and demand reduction are key. It's important that we look at this first in any programme of carbon reduction. Is how are we managing what we use? Are we being as energy efficient as possible? Are we managing the demand in terms of things like transport? Are we looking at our use of cars? Is there an opportunity to use them less or have fewer of them? We need increased renewable generation. As I said previously, the grid has decarbonised, but we need to go further with that. So we need to look at commercial and community scale renewable schemes within the region. And that's typically going to be an increase in the use of solar panels on our roofs and potentially on land as well that's not being used for anything else. Because we to drive towards electrification. So domestic heat, industrial processes and transport are three sectors where the potential for electrification is there. It's relatively known technologies, relatively low cost to implement, although, as said previously, there can be some operating cost concerns. So we need to look at doing that in a sensitive way. And there will be a requirement for fuel switching. So some of our high temperature processes, potentially also some of longer distances that we have transport for, some of the heavy goods routes and potentially some of our bus routes, we need to maybe look at hydrogen for those as well, where electrification isn't the optimum solution. So how do we create this net zero South Yorkshire? That is our vision. It's going to require reductions across all sectors. You can see from this graph, the blue line, the exponential decay, is what we need to achieve to hit a net zero 2040 target. The brown line at the top is the impact of continued grid decarbonisation. And it won't do everything that we need. It will contribute, but it won't get us to the target. So we're going to have to make reductions across all sectors. And we also need to focus on carbon budgets, not just the end point. So you may have heard the term carbon budgets. This is about the fact that we can't just drop off a cliff in 2039. We can't continue business as usual until then. In carbon reduction, early intervention is everything. So the more we can reduce early, the less the end point matters, whether it becomes 2038 or 2042, as long as we've made the bulk of reductions early, and we'll have limited the impact and we will have kept us on that 1.5 degree trajectory. Some things are out of our control, but some require our direct intervention. So it's easy to sit and think about things that we can't do, but there are lots of things that we can do in our homes, in our business, and in the choices that we make about how we move about our region and how we interact. So we all need to play our part if we're going to achieve this combined total. No one can sit back and be a passenger in this journey. So thank you for that. I hope that was informative. In the next webinar, we're going to look at how individuals, businesses and organisations can quantify their own carbon footprint and then track their progress against reducing it. Thank you very much.